Well, my name is Peter Courtney, and I'm a state senator, District 8, which is portions of Salem as well as Jervis and Woodburn. You know, Senator Brzezinski, you sure know how to draw a crowd. I was going to testify on this bill in the House, and I walked through those doors, and then I walked back out. And there are people sitting behind me that I like and respect very much. I've been concerned when they've had some heartbreak problems, and they know that. But I just, this reminds me of another issue years ago on health care. I want to testify on this bill. It's not about the President of the Senate. I am a state senator, but I want to testify on the bill. I very much support this bill. I love this state, and I've always said that Oregon likes to be first of only. It's a phrase I invented years ago. The first state to do things that nobody else does, the only state to do something nobody else does. But this is an example of something I would like to say. As much as I love the state of New Hampshire, because I do think it's a great state, not because it produced Chip Kelly, but because it's part of New England, and I very much identify with New England and the great people there. This is one of the first or only lists I like to get off of. Clearly what the bill does is basically says that, just an example as I have it here, listed in my testimony, if you have $1 million to 50,000 class members, or $20 per person, on the current law, if any of the class members do not fill out the papers, the money goes back to the defendant. This would remedy this by the cypre doctrine, which I understand comes from French, which basically means as near as possible or as near as may be. Now, we cannot force each member of a class to claim their damage. This doctrine would allow the unclaimed awards to go to the next best option. It proposes the state direct the money to our legal aid system. Now, that is why I've come. They say once a Marine, always a Marine. And that's another part of my life I won't get into because I tried to be a Marine officer. Once a legal aid attorney, always a legal aid attorney. I was a legal aid attorney. And right up the street here, a hole-in-the-wall office, we labored, 5 of us, for several years, because legal aid attorneys in some states, you're only allowed to be a legal aid attorney so long, then they make you move because you burn out. And I remember so many times, there was one day I saw 29 clients, and I collapsed. The services they provide, which have been documented, abused women, senior citizens, people being evicted, affordable housing, debtor collector, medical bills. I could go on and on. And what is interesting, my relationships with the business community were extraordinary. With a single phone call, we could take a person that was destitute, that was so far down, they had no hope in life, and give them a chance. We didn't go necessarily into court, don't make no doubt about it. We were the warriors, we are the Marines, in my opinion, although they are another legal system. But we saw our role is giving a judicial system to people in our society that simply do not have it. We are a nation of laws and a Constitution, but the sad point is we're not all created equal. We don't all have the same kind of resources. And this bill is about that. Somewhere in my legislative career, there comes a time, because I've voted on so many things, with some bills it's become the bottom line. And the only reason I'm here is this has become a bottom line bill for me. The compelling argument to make sure that all our Oregonians have access to our extraordinary legal system, our courts, our judges, our attorneys, the way we live here in this greatest state is very, very compelling, and that is what's at stake in this bill. Now, I'm really torn apart by this bill because the state bar is involved. There are judges. They're met with me on the second floor of Willamette University months ago to say we've got to find and help legal aid in our society. All walks of life and attorneys were there. Successful attorneys, powerful attorneys, judges, because there is in the heart of Oregon, they do not want those that don't have the resources not to go out with legal representation. This bill attempts to try to do something about it. We have struggled on this issue for years. We've struggled on this issue, on legal aid funding and on this doctrine. And so I have no illusions about where I am and what's going on. I just wish there was a way we could understand that the bottom line is so compelling that we are going to make this happen, because it is what Oregon does when she's faced with these kind of things. If you could have seen, and I'm not trying to play emotions with you, if you could have seen what it's like to have a client come into your office with their children and their wife lost, they're going to be kicked out of their apartment, there's no heat. You could have seen it. You've all been there. You all care deeply about people. Every one of you. Everybody in this room does. Every one of you cares deeply. And you could see after they left my office, I'm not a great attorney. No, that's not what we're talking about here. Because we were able, in that short time, to say, we're going to keep you in your place. You'll be able to stay in that apartment. I made a phone call. But you got to know, we got to have set up a payment schedule, et cetera. If you could have seen how it transformed their lives, you would understand the magnitude of what we're talking about, because everything we do eventually goes out in the streets. I know there's extraordinary legal minds in this room, extraordinary legal minds not in this room, that are struggling over this. Extraordinary business interests in this room, very successful people in this room are not. But in the end, we're talking about individuals whose everyday life is a struggle beyond description. In our system, which is a fair system, this is about that. So, you know, I wasn't going to come here today, and you saw where I half read my testimony, but more or less I spoke from other experiences. I don't know if you can get there, Senator Brzezinski. I don't know if the committee can get there. But I can tell you that this is so Oregon. This is what we don't let people suffer in our state if we can help it. We don't. We're not built that way. Everything we've tried to do in healthcare, I know it makes people mad me say that, everything is to try to deal with suffering, to make sure that those who suffer don't suffer. And I don't want to be melodramatic here. I'm not passing any judgment. I would not be here talking like this if this hasn't caught me and hit me pretty hard. So I really thank you, Chair Brzezinski, for even letting me come in this late and making these statements. I thank every member of the committee for allowing me to make these kinds of statements, somewhat personal, but very heartfelt, as a human being, as a lawyer, but also as an Oregonian, as a public policymaker.